Guys, it's Sherry. It's been too long since I posted a video, a, an editing tutorial, so I just wanted to do one really fast and show you a couple of things. One is how to convert quickly back and forth from Lightroom to Photoshop. I had a question the other day about, someone was not wanting to do a bunch of editing in Photoshop or wanted to do as much batch editing as they could in Lightroom and didn't realize that you could seamlessly work back and forth between Lightroom and Photoshop, do your batch editing, and then pull your images over to Photoshop and do any more advanced editing and then pull it back into Lightroom seamlessly. And this is just a part of my natural workflow. So secondly, if you look at this picture, you'll see like there's this little light pattern over here in the corner. And I want to show you guys just quickly how I would fix that, because looking at it, it seems like it can't be fixed, because like how would you like clone in, and it would just be too time consuming. But I'm going to show you a really quick fix that I use, and that's by painting over with color over an image. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways that I do this that is a really quick edit and can fix things fast. So right now we're going to pull this into, like I've already done my batch editing, like I ran a preset over everything and converted a couple of images to black and white. So now I'm just going back through and fine tuning, and I noticed this shot and thought, oh gosh, I hate that little white pattern over there. It draws the eyes away from the family, so I just want to fix that. So what I'm going to do is right click on the image, and you'll get this panel that comes up. Go ahead and go to Edit In, and I'm going to go to Edit in Photoshop. Now, this has to be set up. It should be set up by default, so if you're having any issues with it, just message me and ask me any questions that you need to. But I tend to just edit the original, because once I save it back into Lightroom, I just want it to, take over that copy. But you can edit a copy if you want to. If you want to keep the original for some reason or so forth. But I'm not really sure how this works, because sometimes when I edit the original, it still creates two copies for me. So maybe I can research that and talk to y'all more about that. But I'm just going to click Edit. And this is really important here. It's opened up my Photoshop, it's faster if you already have Photoshop open. Otherwise, it's going to need to open the program, which will take time. So go ahead and have Photoshop open. But I have my Photoshop set up to ask me about color, because I noticed when I was flipping back and forth from Lightroom to Photoshop that the color would mismatch. And so it took me forever to figure this out. So I just have it set up to where it warns me if there's a color profile mismatch, and so that I have control over the color. Lightroom usually works in Pro Photo RGB, which has more color than the sRGB mode. However, the sRGB mode is what most of my printing labs use, and it's definitely what our screens use most of the time. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the Pro Photo RGB, so I'm going to use the embedded, not the working. And once I flip it back into, this will keep all the color consistent while I'm editing. And then once I flip it back into Lightroom and I export out, I have my export settings set up to where it exports out as an sRGB. So everything is consistent, and I'm seeing what I'm seeing while I'm editing is what will be the output, if that makes any sense. But anyway, if you have more questions about that, give me a shout. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new layer. So go up here to Layer and do New Layer. Now this layer is going to be an empty layer that we're going to use to paint over this lighting issue. So but I want the mode to be in color, because if I left it in normal and I started painting, it would just be this solid color going over the barn. So I want to change the mode to color, and what that does is it basically keeps all the shadows and highlights of the barn, and it just changes the color. So what I'm going to do is take my little eyedropper and sample, like I want to sample like a mid-tone kind of the barn, like maybe kind of a brownie color, and you can like experiment with which color is going to look the most true to the rest of the barn, because there's a lot of different colors in here. But you'll see my color I chose over here, so we'll see if this works. I'm going to hit B for brush, and I'm just going to start painting over this light pattern. Ooh, and I noticed right away that's might be a little too brown. Hold on. I'm just clicking over the pattern. So yeah, let's make it a little bit more gray. So I'm going to go to my eyedropper and find a gray tone. And let's try that. And that's, ooh, okay. That's looking a little bit better, a little bit too gray. But the beauty of making this on a separate layer is now I can come up here and drop this opacity down a little bit and just kind of play with that until it matches, and see how, like, bringing it down to about 75, now it really matches. So also the light pattern is hitting the grass here, so I'm just going to fix that real quick. I'm going to go to get my eyedropper selected, color in the grass, and I'm going to do a more soft brush. I use this little panel to change the size of my brush quickly, and just paint that grass in right there. You can even fill it in other areas, you know, whatever you want to do. But see how quick that is? I mean, it's nothing. And it's so much faster than cloning. You can drop the opacity to blend things in, and you don't lose the pattern of the barn. So I'm going to flatten this image. And now all I have to do now to get this back into Lightroom is I'm going to go up here and hit File, Save. And when I go back over to Lightroom now, it's going to save that copy. See, it just fixed it magically. So you can do this with any edit. You can go pull it into Photoshop real quick, fix like some acne or do a head swap or whatever you need to do, and then pull it quickly back into Lightroom, and bam, you just keep going. So there's no reason why you can't integrate Photoshop into your workflow. Now, I'm just going to show you one more thing. I'm going to go back into Photoshop. I just want to show you guys that this color technique can be used for anything, and I use it all the time. So I have like different wraps in my studio for newborns, but sometimes like I don't have the exact shade of wrap that I'm trying to make to match up with something, or maybe let's say I've done just too many shots of this baby in gray and I want to do some of him in like a light blue wrap instead, but I didn't take the time to put the light blue wrap on. So all I'm going to do is the same technique of doing a new layer, changing my mode to color, and now this time, instead of picking a color in the picture, I'm going to go over here, double click this color, and I'm going to choose the color that I want to paint over. So I'm going to choose just like a light blue color. Hit OK, hit B for brush. If you right click anywhere, then you'll pull out this panel where you can like make your brush bigger. I'm going to make it kind of big so I can do this quickly. And I'm going to do this kind of sloppy because this is just for the tutorial. But now, like, watch when I color, it's keeping all the naturalness of the wrap. Now, watch, like I'm going to accidentally go over the feet here. I'm going to show you how to fix it. So this is why it's so important to keep that this on a separate layer, because you won't be able to fix your work quickly. And I'm doing this so super fast. I'm going to drop my brush down a little bit to get over here. And I messed up, got some on the blanket. Just trying to show you guys how fast this can be. And then I see some spots over here. Okay, doing a harder brush right here would probably be better because then it won't bleed off onto the baby. But now all I do, and you can do a mask to do this, but for the sake of being super quick as possible, I hit E for eraser, and I just go in here and erase where I accidentally hit on the baby with the blue. And voila, it's that easy. And now I've changed the color. Now there's other ways to do this. Like I guess you can do selective color. I just feel like with selective color, it takes a lot longer because sometimes it picks up other tones in the image that I didn't want it to change the color of, or maybe I have to do a selection mask first before I do selective color. So I don't know. I've used this technique. It's been super fast for me. I use it all the time for different reasons. I might change the color of a blanket. I might like fix that light pattern. I might, let's say a kiddo has like a green color cast on his face. Well, I might go in there and paint over his face in a more of a skin tone color and just fix it so fast. So I want you guys to know that this is available. I'm going to flatten this image, and when I hit save, file save, that would pull that image right back into Lightroom, and we're continuing on and moving on editing the rest of our photos that fast.